So changing front fork seals on a vtr250. So we begin by loosening and removing the axle nut holding the wheel, and removing the axle, pulling the wheel out. Then we loosen and take out the bolts holding the brake on, remove the brake, remove the bolts holding on the mudguard, remove the mudguard. Once the mudguard is removed, we move on to loosen the bolts that are holding the actual fork or the shaft of the fork in. Once that's loosened, we're then able to pull each part of the fork out. Now these forks are particularly rusty. You can see that rust there. I'm going to rub it off with a bit of sandpaper. There's the writing. 1000 grade, or even finer, works really well, I find. Bit of WD-40 or oil, and then just a light rub back. See, it just takes that rust straight off. Helps with the pitting as well. So I only do it sort of up here, which is generally where you get the pitting, and ideally you wouldn't really do it. This is definitely a budjo build, and as you can see, that rust has pretty much all just come off straight away. And the best way to keep the rust off is just to wax it, I find. Wax your chrome as often as you wash your bike, and that's that. Now these ones are a screw-on cap, so you find the appropriate bolt and you wind it off. This one's nice and loose. Sometimes you have to fight with them a bit. I'm just holding that and twisting the whole thing. I mean, you can do it this way as well, doesn't make a difference. And then as the cap's right about to come off, there'll be a bit of pressure, spring pressure. Some will have quite a bit, some will have less or more than others. And there's also, this is when the oil is likely to come out, so keep winding it off. There we go, that had hardly any spring pressure. There's the cap off. This has some kind of funny thing in there. Pull that out. And then the spring is much down lower in there. Don't know if you can see it, there you go. There's a bit of spring. That's a spacer apparently. Sits on top of that. Anyway, not really important. Oil's filthy, as we expected. So, start by tipping the oil out. Look at the colour of that. Crikey. Oh, here comes the spring. Quite a short spring on this one. Get rid of all the oil. Okay, so cleaned up the shaft and the inside, we've drained the oil out, taken the springs out, taken the caps off. Now we're going to pull it out. Effectively all you do is yank it out, but first you need to take out the bolt that's in the back of that. Easiest, best way to do that is with a rattle gun. First obviously you have to take this one out. I forgot to do that. Take that out. Take your Allen key. On this it's a 6mm. Put your 6mm Allen key into that, like so. Get your rattle gun, connect it up. In this case they fit perfectly. And then rattle it out. That's it. Out that comes. Now this will yank out. First you have to pull the, this is a dust seal on the top. So you get a screwdriver in behind that and pull it out. So I've wiped out the inside of that. That's nice and clean. Wipe that down. Now I'm going to pull the old oil seal off this shaft. Got a washer behind it, that can stay on. Again, wiping this all down so it's reasonably clean. Now that I've wiped all that down, I'm going to slide this back into here. Turn it upside down, it'll fall down. Now it comes the bottom, it's got the spring in there with it. So let's put it back together. Take that little thing at the bottom, place that in there. It's going to center into the bottom like that. That's where this can go into, and then that is what that small bolt in the bottom actually bolts into. So once you're at this stage and you've got it here, all in there with your washer and everything, you get your new seal. Because this is so corroded, I'm actually putting a little bit of sealant on the outside of my seal, and I'm going to